In the previous episodes, we built our legs and our stringers. We're pretty much done with the base now. We're ready to go. We're ready to mount the top to it, but the top's not quite done. We've got it laminated up, but today we need to make our breadboard end. Mateo, what's a breadboard end? Well, this is the end of our workbench right here. And right now it's nice and laminated up and it looks pretty good. However, it's a Michigan garage. There's a ton of moisture, and obviously if you've been watching from this, I've gone from a t-shirt to a flannel to a full-on winter jacket as time is progressing somehow in Michigan. So the weather's a little complex. So what that means is, as the moisture rises and lowers in the workshop here, this workbench top is going to suck in that moisture and expand and contract as it gets more wet in here and dry in here, right? As the seasons come and go, this workbench is going to move back and forth. And over time, what that could do is open some of these cracks up a little bit, up these joints, and just be a little unsightly. What we're going to do is cover some of that up with our breadboard ends. So again, Mateo, what is a breadboard end? Well, it goes on the end. Let me show you. Oh, I've been lifting too many heavy things today. Oh my gosh. Okay. Gentle, gentle. There we go. This is a breadboard end. So it's just a piece of wood that we're putting on through a tongue and groove. We're basically mounting it on here, right? Kind of a tongue and groove, mortise and tenon, however, whatever you want to call it. It sits on here and it's not contradicting, parallel? No, perpendicular. So it's a piece of wood that the grain runs perpendicular to the piece that it's covering. So the issue with the breadboard end though is as this moves back and forth, expands, contracts, we're not talking an inch or something, but it'll move back and forth over time. And as that does that, if you were to glue this on, it would break that glue joint eventually, or warp or twist or do whatever. So you need it to be able to move back and forth inside this. So on the end, we cut a tongue, right? Or a tenon, whatever you want to call it. And then in this piece, we cut a mortise or a groove that this is going to slide in and out of. Now, we don't want to glue that on, so right here and here, I've got two dowel pins that are going down and pulling that in tight against this, but it's not just a straight hole. That dowel is going in, and on this piece here in our tongue, we're kind of elongating that hole to allow the bench to move back and forth a little bit, but it still holds this on really solid. It won't go this way, and it won't shift, right? So it kind of hides everything and makes it look good. Plus, we can build a little more length onto it to make our bench seem taller so that we can put our front and back board on and we can hide all of our vise hardware. So this is what we're going to build today. This is my other breadboard end. Right now it's very rough, just two pieces of cherry that I just glued together, sandwiched, clamped it all up and let it dry for a few days. And now it's been sitting in this vise for another few days and I need to prep it. So I'm gonna get the hand plane out, flatten all this, square it all up. It's the same stuff you've seen me do multiple times on other pieces of wood. Just gonna get everything 6x6 square it off and then cut it to length. So I'm gonna do that now. Take that all day long. stock prepared. Now we got to measure our mortise. Actually, we're going to cut our tenon first, and then we're going to cut our mortise to the tenon, because you never know. So we'll cut the tenon first, and then we'll come back to this to chop our mortise. I need to make my tenon and cut it out of this. So basically what I've done is measured in 1 inch, which is essentially the width of this ruler, right? So I brought it in, I've squared it off to my front face, and I pulled a line, then flipped over. So I've transferred that line all the way around 1 inch, right? Then I came down 1 inch as well, marked that across. So I've kind of scribbled all this out. I'm gonna cut this line as straight as I possibly can, and then come through the chisel and pop all this off. Do that on both sides, and that should give us our tongue or our tenon or whatever. You know what, I keep switching back and forth here. We're just gonna call it the tenon for the rest of the video. So you start with your 2 lines, cutting straight down your line here and following your line here. Once you're there, I'm going to start backing down and pulling all the way across, watching right about here where the saw makes contact with the top. And I'm going to follow that line all the way across as far as I can, making sure I don't go below my 1 inch line here. So basically that's how you're getting a nice straight cut. So now that I'm all the way down on this side, I'm gonna come down here and just start pulling all the way across. Now we've established a kerf going all the way across. So now I'm just pulling my saw in, and doing long repetitive cuts, trying to keep as straight as I can. So I don't so much need to watch here anymore. This is pretty good. I'm watching my ends over on here, occasionally looking over here, making sure that I'm not going in. If I go out, that's okay-ish, you know, because this is all gonna be chopped off. You wanna try to keep it as straight as possible though. So like I said, no rush. You're just pulling your hand in and out like that and just doing slow pulls. This isn't a race. Got a 1 inch chisel, you can do a 2 inch, ½ inch, whatever you got. So I'm gonna start halfway down just because I don't know which way the grain direction's going. I don't wanna go right on my line because it could pull in, it could go down, and that's not good. So I'm gonna start about halfway and just pop all these off. So here's a great example of what I was talking about. I was chiseling over here to pop it, and you can see how the grain shot down right here, right? So if I would have been on my line, that could have popped below the line there. In this case, it's not horrible, but that's just good practice, right? I want my tenon to be full all the way across. I don't want to break down into that. So while I'm down here, I need to be careful when I split this next to make sure that grain doesn't pop down in that direction. Now while I'm down here, I'm gonna drop my chisel just a little bit and kind of come up on an upward angle just to make sure I don't pop down below that line. So just keep having it till I get down to almost my line. Right on my line. And then see we're a little bit fat there. So I can just come in here and kind of work that back and forth and just keep paring that down until I get down to my line. We got our tenon cut. Now it is time to measure this guy. So I want the other side, I've got a knot sticking out towards the end. And I really don't want to have to chisel through this, to be honest. So I'm going to leave the knot on this one facing out as well, just to match it. This side's got nice clear grain, but I'm going to chisel through this just because it's going to be more predictable than chopping through that. So plus, you know, aesthetically, a knot looks cool on the outside. So we're going to do that. Now I want one side to be flush. I've got two sides I could use. This one is more sapwood, and this one's got some sapwood and hardwood mixed into it. So that side over there has a lot of hardwood and a little bit of sapwood, so I'm gonna have this side up either way. So I could go, you know, I could go this way, but again, I want that knot out. So I need to take this end here and bring it flush to the back of the bench, because I'm gonna have a baseboard or a backboard going all the way across this side, covering all the joinery here. And that's where it's going to come down and meet this length here. So I need to measure the distance from here to here on this board, because I only want my mortise to go this far. Over here, I want this all flush on this side, because that's where my tool board's going to be. I don't need a big mortise cutting out here. So I only want the mortise to go this length on this board, right? So about to here. All right, we're on. So I'm gonna drill my pilot holes. I'm just gonna use a small bit to begin with. Just, I don't know, something maybe a 1/16 of an inch, 3/32, something like that. I'm not drilling all the way through though. I'm just gonna drill through the first inch and just barely mark the tongue, because I want to drill the hole a little bit in on our workbench. All right, so here's the two spots where I drilled through. I just want to, like, right here would be right on the hole. I'm just gonna move it over just a little bit. And drill my hole through. Then I'm going to elongate it just a little bit. I'm gonna pull this way, I'm gonna pull this way and that way. So it made just a little bit of an oblong hole. When I drive the dowel in, it's gonna go in there and pull this into it even harder. So I'm just gonna bring my square up just to kind of eyeball straight. Could do this on a drill press, but I can't get to my drill press right now. Nice, nice, nice. Okay, that is going to be our dowel pin. So before I mount this to the bench now with dowels, I'm gonna clean all this up. It's got some dings and stuff from chiseling, and I was not the nicest to it as I was busting out all this with a chisel. So I'm gonna clean it all up right now, mindful not to take much off of this side, because the more you take off of this side, the bigger the gap becomes, you know, on the bench. So this side's not going to be seen. It's up against the bench, but mainly just the top and the outside faces and stuff. Just clean them up a little bit. All right, so I've cut my 3 dowels there, and I've took them on the belt sander and just kind of made a point out of each of them. And that's so that as it's coming down and it's hitting this other one, it will pull itself into this dowel and pull itself, in theory, pull itself tight to the bench. All right, we are in place, nice and tight, flush to the end. Let me get my mallet that I have now misplaced for the 400th time today. There we go. That's better. All right, I'm going to drive this one in because I could see this is going to pull it even more that way. So I'm going to put this one in first. Nice, that pulled in very tight. I'm gonna get the actual metal hammer. Nice, and that bottomed out. I could feel that. Look how tight that pulled it. Nice. Okay, now we're gonna see, hopefully we're still flush on this end, if this guy here will pull back into place. Nice. Nice. Okay, that pulled through. That is held on really solid, and we're nice and tight against the bench. Very minimal gap. I'm happy with that. Now I got just our last one here, our decorative one. And that is seated. Okay. Now we're just going to use our flush cut saw and cut these off just flush, and then I'll come through the plane and smooth everything out nice. So you can see this one, I must have drilled just a little bit off, which was pushing it back. So this one I drilled in first. That pushed everything back in alignment. And now this guy's just a little bit crooked in there. There's just the tiniest gap there, but that's okay. We got some filler, we'll fill it in, and you'll never know it was slightly off. But that is held on really, really tight. I am really happy with that fit. Everything's nice and straight and square. So these ain't going nowhere. Now we'll just saw them off. Like that. And that is how I made a breadboard end. Is this the right way to make a breadboard end? I don't know, but this is how I made my breadboard ends for my Matao's workbench. Super happy with this. In the next episode, we're going to put our front board on, our back board on, and our tool well. And at that point, we will have a completely done workbench top that we can then marry to our legs. And then we got to put our vise on. So yeah, I don't know how the hell I'm going to do that upside down. Might have to put the vise on first, but that adds like another 50 60 pounds. That vise is not light by any means, to the top for me to get it on the leg. So we'll see. We'll see how I'm gonna figure that out. If you wanna see how I do that and don't crush myself or my toe or something, subscribe down below. If you haven't yet, click the thumbs up, comment on this. Let me know, what do you think of this? I really like this. This is turning out really nice. I love the cherry accents with the pine. And then you got the pine dowels inside of it, just tying it all together. I'm really happy with how this turned out. Once I get the front board on and the back board, it's gonna look cool. Now, some of you are out there probably saying, why didn't I extend this out and dovetail it and all that? That was my original plan. If you saw in the beginning how much bigger this was when I glued it up, I had built it 2 inches longer with the intent to go an inch out there and an inch out there, and then dovetail in my end boards or dovetail in my front and back boards to dovetail into this, kind of like a half blind dovetail or maybe even a full through dovetail. So 2 reasons why I didn't. One, I messed up cutting the first one and cut it 2 inches short. But the second reason why, after I was going to just make a new breadboard end, and I was pissed at myself, and I was just gonna make a new one and make it 22 inches long. But I went with the 20 in this case because I want to be able to remove the tool well. I want to be able to take the tool well out because I want to be able to get clamps in here and clamp this side down, right? And this is going to be 5 inches. I'd rather clamp through 3, and I can use smaller clamps and clamp things down if I want to. B, I want to be able to remove the front board off of this because I want to be able to possibly, so I'm telling you what's going to happen in the next video, but I'm going to thread these ends. I don't want to just put a couple wood screws in the end grain. There's nothing structural about this end board, the front board here, but I want to be able to remove it easily without taking wood screws in and out because that just gets loose after a while. So I'm going to use bolts and washers and threaded inserts in this end grain to hold it in place nicely. But what that's going to give me the ability to is to remove that front board when I need to and use those threaded holes to mount like lighting gear, microphones, camera gear, stuff like that, because I need to be able to have that stuff to film for this. So I might use that in the future. So that was my justification of making my mistake is, hey, I can make lemonade out of lemons and use this to be able to remove easily and be able to, you know, attach something new if I want to in the beginning or whatever. So it just gives me a couple attachment points, threaded attachments points in the future. So that is a long time to do that, but we're gonna do the front board or the back board, the front board, the tool well in the next episode. Subscribe down below if you don't wanna miss that. Give me a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think of these breadboard ends. I already said all that stuff, but I'm saying it again. I'll see you on the next one.